I've spent the past 7 years traveling the world perfecting my craft. You see, I'm something of a magician, inventor, and chocolate maker. So quiet up and listen down. Nope, scratch that, reverse it.
Hello and welcome to the somewhat daily movie review. Today's movie in question is Wonka, directed by Paul King, and starring the wonderful Timothee Chalamet and Kayla Lane. This is unfortunately my first Paul King movie. I know the Paddingtons are very good and very well made, I just haven't gotten around to watching them. But as a first outing for me anyway, this was a very impressive, very great first outing for Paul King, because I really did like this movie. And I know it seems like every single movie I review I say I really like, but I try to only watch movies I know I'll like, because I would hate to sit through something that I hate, which I'm sure I will eventually for this channel or just in general, but that's just my general philosophy when it comes to picking movies to watch. But anyway, so Wonka just came out. This movie, I'm in a very unique position watching it, because I have not seen the original Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Gene Wilder. I know I probably should have watched it before this just to kind of compare them, but I never got around to it. And this, to me, because I've seen the Johnny Depp Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this movie anyway blows it out of the water. Because one thing I really couldn't stand about the original, or not the original, but the Johnny Depp version, is how gray everything is. And I know it's kind of the point, but that movie is just dreadful to watch, and I can't stand it. But this movie goes in the complete opposite direction, where even though it's in a dreary, kind of damp, snow-covered town, these bright, beautiful colors, these yellows and these very soft browns and these purples and yellows and blues from the candy, they all pop out, and it really makes the movie fun to watch, because it is a visual candy for the eye, basically. So one of the things I was really concerned about for this movie, even though I haven't seen the original Gene Wilder Wonka performance, was Timothee Chalamet's whimsicalness, if that's a word. Because I just know that Willy Wonka is a very whimsical guy. I mean, his name is Willy Wonka. Like, just listen to that. And it felt really weird, because whenever they purposefully tried to do, like, silly, whimsical moments in this movie, they didn't really work for me. When Timothee Chalamet has to act like a crazy person, and he goes, "That was two hums," like that kind of thing, it really didn't work for me. I think he's a better kooky, whimsical guy when he's just naturally acting and given good stage direction. When it's not the focus of the scene, I think it works a lot better. And other than that, though, I think his performance as a young entrepreneur Willy Wonka is excellent. You could see, because again, I know in the Gene Wilder Willy Wonka, he's like actively bitter and hateful, and he's trying to give away his chocolate factory. Same thing in the Johnny Depp one. They're both very bitter depictions, but you know, since he's younger in this movie, he's a very upbeat, very hopeful man, and it really puts it's a different lens into the character, and I really did appreciate that. And not only is the character of Willy Wonka in this movie really interesting, but his supporting cast, mainly Kayla Lane playing Noodle, is excellent. I loved the supporting cast. I loved pretty much everyone in this movie, because they're all very talented. They're all very funny when they're given material that works for them. They're all very talented dancers and singers, which is something I didn't expect, especially Timothee Chalamet, to go back to that. He is very good at doing choreographed dance scenes, and he's a really good singer too. He does these crazy musical numbers in character, and it really works. I really enjoyed them. Those are probably some of the best parts of the movie for me. And another thing, before I get back to the great actors, is, again, I haven't seen the Gene Wilder Wonka, but I know that this movie was probably going to do a lot of nostalgia stuff, and to my knowledge, I mean, it tells the same story, desert island, and he finds the Oompa Loompas and all that, but it really doesn't do what I thought it would do, and like reuse a lot of the same beats, even though it really wouldn't make sense. The only thing that really gets reused, and it's not even to an annoying extent, is the pure imagination little piano tune. And when Timothee Chalamet sings it at the end of the movie, it feels really deserved, and it's like a great emotional send-off for the character of Noodle, which I'll get to in a couple seconds, maybe a minute or two when I get into spoilers. But another thing that I really appreciate about this movie is the effects. You know, it's an important thing because you could do practical, like huge chocolate fountains and practical flying candies and things like that, but for what I think was mostly CGI, the effects held up pretty well. Some, like the chocolate fountain near the end of the movie, did look a little funny, and there were a couple other instances of kind of funky effects, but for the most part, this movie consistently looked very good. And again, the color palette of this movie is just so warm and so inviting that you can't help but just kind of enjoy the movie. It feels like you're sitting by the campfire watching a Willy Wonka movie with your little brother or something, you know. I just love the feeling of this movie. So before I get into spoilers, I'll just go over some of the important stuff. The music, all the musical numbers that Timothee Chalamet sings, and just people sing in general. And not only that, but the background music is really great in this movie. Really imitates those original kind of tones and notes of the original Willy Wonka soundtrack. And I really appreciated that because, again, it helps with the warm tone of the movie. The cinematography, kind of basic, but for a movie like this, it's not really what you're going there to see. The acting was really great. There really aren't any actors with a poor performance in this movie, I think. Especially, I've never seen this guy before in a movie. Patterson Joseph, he played Slugworth. He's an innkeeper. He was really great in this movie, along with his co-star Olivia Colman, who plays Miss Scrubbit. They're both really good evil actors. They're really fun to watch. They have good stage presence. Really good actors for their role. But I really enjoyed this movie, period. Just like, I really enjoyed it. So, getting into spoilers now. Again, if you haven't seen Wonka, it's still in theaters. It's an IMAX, at least where I am. I definitely recommend you see it in IMAX because this movie's beautiful enough, I think, to warrant an IMAX theater and that $14.50 ticket or whatever it is. So, yeah, spoilers from here on out. So, one thing I really liked about this movie was how it manages to balance emotional moments and still be whimsical and still be upbeat and in tune kind of thing. Early on in the movie, it's pretty much spelt out to you that Timothee Chalamet's character, I'll just call him Wonka, it's pretty obvious that Wonka's mom is either dead or missing. He's constantly kind of fondling this chocolate bar that she had made, and he's thinking, oh, she told me when I make it, she'll be there. It's a constantly hammered into the movie, into your brain, that he is doing this all for his mom. He mentions it multiple times to Noodles and the supporting cast, and it is a really strong emotional beat. And I'll admit, near the end of the movie, when Noodle is reunited with her mother, I did tear up. Combined with that, with the pure imagination performance from Timothee Chalamet, it did get to me. And I'm not ashamed to admit it, because this movie is really great. The movie follows a pretty, not tight, but a normal plot. I think it fits pretty well with what it was going for. Again, you're not going to see Wonka for an airtight, ultra interesting story, because this movie is mainly spectacle. And I'm not dissing the movie at all, because there's nothing wrong with doing a spectacle movie like this, because I think it works perfectly for, well, the movie. But I think there was more area to do interesting things, mainly the candy. There's really only like one or two interesting candies. The one that makes you fly that I forgot the name of, and the one that makes you think you're on Broadway, which I also forgot the name of. There are a couple montages in this movie too, and I think they fit pretty well within the confines of the movie and within Timothee Chalamet's version of Wonka. And the movie just, it works. Yeah, you know, I hate to say it because it's a pretty generic thing to say about a movie, but everything just kind of molds together perfectly in this movie. Keegan-Michael Key as the chief of police, and his his inflation is really funny. It works pretty well for the movie. I think it was a pretty neat idea to have the corrupt official literally getting fattened up by other chocolatiers, I guess. Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa, even though he's not in the movie very much, I think he played his role pretty well as being this kind of silly Oompa Loompa, and you can't have a movie about Willy Wonka without having an Oompa Loompa, and he fills the role pretty well, I think. The rest of the supporting cast in this movie is pretty good. I really liked most of their performances. The movie is pretty funny. A lot of the jokes landed. Most of the jokes that I saw in the trailers weren't very funny in the theater though. And again, when Timothee Chalamet is kind of forcing the wacky thing, where he's repeating lines and he's going, scratch that, reverse it, and listen up again. Like that kind of thing, I don't think it was very funny. I don't think it really worked. But otherwise, I think the movie was very good. I think Timothee Chalamet played an excellent Wonka. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I'm just trying to think of a couple more things to say about this movie. I just really enjoyed it. I had a smile on my face the whole time. I think it was very wholesome, as overplay as the word kind of is. I think it's a very wholesome, cute adaptation of the Willy Wonka story. And I have read the book like ages ago. And I know this is kind of, in a way, it's a soulless cash grab, but if it is soulless, which it probably is, they covered it really well, because this movie is whimsical. And I can't help but admit that, having not seen the original, this is definitely much better to me than the Johnny Depp Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. I think that's everything I wanted to hit. I definitely recommend you go see this movie. If you have a kid, go see it with him. Just go see it at all, because it's really worth your time. If you like Timothee Chalamet like I do, it's a good role, because seeing him act at all is just a treat. Keegan-Michael Key too, he's hilarious. All the enemy chocolatiers are really great. Just everyone in this movie rocks. Really great casting all around. I think pretty perfect for the roles. But other than that, that is it. Go see this movie, please. That's all I have to say. Please let me know if I can improve on anything. I'm always up for recommendations. And that's actually for real this time. I hope you have a good night or day, and I will see you in the theaters.